Everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, and this is the Gatling gun we made in the video, and this is the one that fell apart that I screamed and cussed at and had to start a new video. So let's get these painted up. So the easiest thing I think to do would be to get like a dark silver and a dry brush, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a makeup brush from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to dry brush these silver real quick. And dry brush is kind of a loose definition of what this is. It's kind of a, not dry brush. It's kind of a wet brush. I'm not applying a ton of pressure. I'm just trying to get it silvered up. And that should be good. There's a little bit of brown sticking through where I didn't spray paint it super good. I'm not really worried about that. This one doesn't have the front strap because that's how all the things that made it fall apart started. Started the drama with it. Okay. And once we get that done, we can kind of, oh, let me try to get inside on this platform a little bit in here. It's kind of brown. I didn't paint it real well. Get some silver in there. All right, that's good. Now, these were top-loaded with a magazine originally, and then later on with a belt. And they came out of service 1910 or 1911. Somewhere around there, they came out of service. But they were used in Cuba and other places. They were definitely used. And even like, even though I said they could fire 400 rounds a minute, I will say that a real crew that was trained how to use it could do that. Like if you and I, and we weren't familiar with it and how it worked, and we weren't good with it, and we hadn't practiced, you and I could get together with a couple friends, and we could still put 200 rounds a minute or so. Well, that might be ambitious. If we can get a good reloading tempo going, we could probably do 200 rounds a minute, I would say. There's a lot of these in museums around too. So if you ever want to see one of these, just look it up and see where there's one near you. I think last time, I can't remember if there was one at the U.S. Infantry Museum at Fort Benning, but there was definitely one at the Cavalry Museum at Fort Knox for sure. But yeah, they're pretty neat. Now the mini guns that we have now, the Vulcans, those are a whole different animal, but they work on a similar concept actually. But I think they fire 2mm rounds, something like that. And like I said, these went through different iterations. They fired a powder round first with a paper sleeve, and then they later fired 45 by 70 and then 30 cal, and multiple iterations of 30 cal as the military changed like their standard of ammo they used too. So even though these were 30 cal, they were actually like three different. Sorry. There were actually three different things with 30 cal. Like, I don't know off the top of my head what they all were, but they were definitely, you know, a variety of rounds in military service. What was weird is Colt. I don't know if Gatling worked for Colt or not, but Colt made the military versions of it. And if I'm not mistaken, when they would upgrade them and change them, they didn't send them to the factory. They would have it done at like an armory, like a military armory would do it. Like it was weird. I don't know. I don't know if it was weird because I don't know what the standard practice at the time was because I wasn't in the military then. But you'd think that something like that big, like re-outfitting these to be a whole different caliber and stuff, you'd think that, you know, you would kind of have that as a factory done deal, not as a we're going to do that in-house deal, but we don't do anything in-house anymore, so. All right, let's get a couple colors here to put some variety on these bases, and then we'll take a look at our Gats and see how they're doing, our Dick Gatling specials. Now, I call him Dick Gatling. I don't know if anybody actually called him that. I just think it's really funny. So I call him Dick Gatling. what he went by or what he was known as, I really don't know. I am not an expert on the guy. I know just the bare minimum about him because of this major accomplishment in military technology. I know that some other countries like England and China fielded their own versions of Gatling guns at different times. In 1865, England did have their own version of the Gatling gun. So that was within 5 years of Richard inventing the American one. But I don't know how good it was or anything about it or what caliber it was. I just don't know anything about it at all. I just know they had one because a while ago, a buddy and I got into an argument about major military advancements. I claimed that the United States invented the Gatling gun. He claimed England did. And we had looked it up and found out the United States was 4 years before England. So, because all England does is colonize. I don't know if that's all they do, but they do it. Okay, so the last thing I need to do is take a look at these and do something with the wheels. Because I don't want these, they would have been on probably like a framed wagon wheel. I don't know exactly what year they outfitted these for wagons, but I knew it did, or heavy carriages, but I know it did happen. In the break while these were in front of the fan drying, my wife and I were talking about it. And she's like, were they always on wagons? I was like, yeah, I think they at first were just only on wheels, and then they were outfitted to go on wagons and trains later. But I don't know, and I could have easily looked it up. I just didn't. I'm sorry. This is a chocolate bar. It's a rich-looking reddish brown. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a small brush, and I'm going to do a line around the inside of the wheel here. With that. And I'm going to paint the center circle like that. I'm going to leave the metallic brushed edge there. And I'm just going to simulate some spokes on there. And when that dries, from a distance, it'll hopefully give off the look I want it to give off. Remember, when you're doing this stuff, it's more so about theater than actual perfection. Now that one's real wide and wonky and bad, and that's okay. God, my hands shake so bad at night. I mean, they shake a little bit all the time, but at night they get worse. And also I've been working on this for a few hours because like I told you, I had recorded the whole first video of the gun I'm painting right now. I had it done. And then when I was putting super glue on it, I destroyed it and started yelling like an idiot, and I really didn't want to put that video out. Since I don't edit, I had to do it again. All right. Let's get the +5 hot air gun burning out. This might be a really bad idea, but I'm going to get this marker, which is not super fine tip, and just kind of make a little dot, a little triangle in there where I messed up my paint job kind of bad. And I'm going to call that a win. There they are. The one we made together and the one I made alone. I'm going to use them both. So let's talk about how you run these real quick. If you're going to do any kind of defensive emplacement situation, you usually are doing it, one, as part of a storytelling concept, or two, to counter a mechanic in your party that they become too comfortable with and start falling on it as their only technique. When this becomes their focus, their main tactic, a defensive emplacement, or some kind of strange fight situation is generally how you would counter it, to let them know there are different ways to fight and to let them know that they're being abusive of something. So in this party, they are all gunslinger type people. You know, they all have different focus abilities, but they're gunslingers. Every one of them is carrying a gun except for the tracker hunter one. She's got a bow. She has a gun, but she hasn't used it yet. Everybody else is just freely shooting. And they're getting to the point where they're kind of like trying to hide behind stuff and shoot. And they're trying to make sure there's cover in their favor every fight, which is wise. However, as a dungeon master or a game master or whatever you're going to call yourself running these games, when they start using tactics that make it to where the enemies can't get any kind of tactical advantage ever, unless you can somehow draw them out in a moment of stupidity, they just keep using that tactic repeatedly. So for me, the way to counter that is I already exposed them to the Gatling gun once. They tried to assault a train. The train popped down the sides of the car, and they had 2 Gatling guns. And they started firing on them. And then they ended up wrecking the train to beat the Gatling guns because they couldn't figure out how to close the gap to get to them. This time, they're coming upon a vampire. It's going to be a windmill. There's a secret entrance to a mine where vampires, and like they're like this one vampire lady that's like kind of like their lord, are hiding. And so they have human guards protecting the place. And they have 2 emplacements that are going to be protected with Gatling guns. And the party's going to figure out how to close the gap, shut down the Gatling guns when they're in the wide open and the enemy has elevation bonus. And I think this is going to either result in them making some really good decisions or really bad decisions, but either way, they'll be rewarded accordingly, and we will figure out how to make the story continue on. But they, after 4 nights of play, have pretty much determined that they're invincible and that they can overcome any obstacle, so I had to up the ante. They defeated the Gatling guns last time by wrecking the train since they couldn't outright get to them. This time, they're not going to have a choice but to figure out how to deal with the Gatling guns. And a defensive emplacement's the way to do that, and it's going to change the way they act a lot. And you might say, hey, Doom, that sounds kind of shitty and manipulative. Okay, well, when you play with the same group for years and years and years, and you see them get into these trends where they start using a tactic, like for a while they were just carrying oil and torches around and blowing shit up with fire, you got to get creative. So I learned their ebbs and flows and how they operate. And, yeah, that's kind of the deal. Let's see. I went to a new store today I've never been to, and I bought some products since I was there. They didn't have much I wanted, but I always support new stores. This place was called New Dimension Comics, and it was in Cranberry, Pennsylvania. I bought this WizKids $5 pack of overpriced bases that I didn't really need, but I wanted to support my local store. And then after I already had that, I saw that they had this military shader wash from Army Painter, and I had never used this one, so I picked this up as well. And this was $2.60, which I think was a great value, and I'm not disappointed at all. But this was definitely not worth $5. Yeah, that size small base, I literally use these poker chips that are, however many of these, 50 of them for $3. Much better deal. But either way, that's what I bought at that store today. I've also ordered some miniatures online, and when they get here, I'll check them out with you. And I also have some stuff that I've ordered and bought that I haven't shown you yet. I may have talked about some, but I want to show you guys and open them up and throw them against the desk and throw them against the floor and talk about how good they are as miniatures. I'm sorry, I'm dying here. I can't think straight now. It's hard for me to review other people's miniatures with any kind of dishonesty, because I do sell miniatures, and I don't want to be that guy that promotes my shit as it's amazing and bashes other people's stuff. So when I do look at miniatures, I try to be as objective as possible, and I try to really give them a fair shake. And if you saw the Garrison minis, even though there were tons of problems with them, they painted up beautifully. I've done about 15 or 18 of them now, and they are gorgeous miniatures. And even though there are a lot of print problems and things, wrong with them in general, they turned out really well, and I gave them a good review. Now, I can't remember what that company was, the horrible company I did, their miniatures were dog shit, but they were sturdy. I slammed them around and beat them up some, but they were sturdy, and I'll give you credit for that. But I will bring other miniatures down and review them and talk about that stuff because I think it's interesting. And I also think that it's nice to know that, there's other options out there besides WizKids and Paizo. So, anyways, please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon, leave a comment and all the happy crappy that pleases the great spirits of the algorithm. And go out to the website and buy some miniatures. Not these miniatures, real Dungeon Swag miniatures, beautiful, high quality, gorgeous miniatures with tons of detail, and they're sturdy. And that you can slam them and break them. Well, they don't really break, but you can slam them. Look at that bowstring. Look at that. Beautiful Dungeon Swag miniatures. This is a Knoll Archer. Absolutely gorgeous. So much texture. So much detail. Oh, my gosh. I love our minis. I hate paying our minis sometimes, though, because I feel very like I have to do such a good job because it's ours. Whereas, like, if I make something like this, I don't care if it looks like dog shit. But anyways, hey. Check out the Discord. Show us what you're working on. Check out what we're working on. Play some games with us. I'm playing Ark Survival a good bit right now, but I'm just kind of solo playing it and flying around on this Quetzal that I caught. Yeah, anyways. And then I'm trying to get an RPG going on there again on Discord. I just haven't got around to finding time to do it. It's looking like it's going to be Saturdays. It worked a couple Saturdays in a row, and then it kind of fell apart, and I couldn't get there, and we're going to try to go back to that, though. So join us on Discord. The link for all that stuff will be in the description. There's a discount code for the Dungeon Swag minis there, so please check that out and utilize that code. As much as we like money, I like to help people save a couple bucks, so that'll give you a discount on your first month. Anyways, that's all I got for you. See you next time.